Welcome to the Coffee Sometimes podcast, where we talk about, I don't know, coffee sometimes. Down along the creek.
Oh, goodness gracious. That's good radio right there.
Come on, somebody. I just got the verb on. Up. Dry as a bone. That's how we like it.
Oh, man. No Ethan today, huh?
We're getting a little crazy with the vocal effects now that Ethan's gone. He's always so anti-vocal effects on podcasts.
Right?
Like, why not put on like an octave in a reverb for a podcast about coffee?
Like -10 semitones at least.
Mix 100%.
Yeah.
Well, he's not here to hold us back today. Mm-hmm. That's a joke. Ethan, I know you're listening while you're on your vacation. We love you. I hope you're having a great baby moon. Enjoy your freedom while you got it, son.
Yeah, enjoy it, dude. It's all downhill from here.
Where's he at? St. Augustine? Or maybe he wouldn't want that disclosed.
Oh, he'd want it disclosed. He's in St. Augustine.
Yeah. I was there recently. Well, in the last year.
Really?
Super weird town.
When did you go there?
I think we drove up there for like, we weren't staying there, but we were staying at a adjacent area.
Flagler or something?
Yeah, something like that.
I feel like Flagler is always the hot destination.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's East Coast, right?
Yeah, East Coast.
Yeah.
Yep.
East Coast of Florida.
Atlantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been to St. Augustine in a long time, but it is a weird town.
Do you think there's any good coffee there, since this is a coffee podcast?
I'm sure there is. Do you want me to research it?
Yeah. Can you research it? Because we got to send some samples. Excited to be on the program today. You know, I woke up this morning and the first thought on my mind was, I can't wait to do buttery, silky smooth radio with my partner, Riley.
I mean, this is kind of how it was meant to be. You
Right.
know?
Right. We've always joked over the years. No, it's not quite a joke, but how different would Valor be if it was just if you could only pick two owners out of the three different combinations, like what would Valor be? And we always said if it was me and you running Valor would be a lot less nice.
True.
We would not really have
Like
the
if
culture.
you know me and Ross,
Yeah.
you know we're just total jerks.
We are just the enemy of society. But hey, we know how to make money, and that's what it's all about.
That's right. Money makers.
That's right.
I'm scrolling back to show people what Valor looked like when it was just you and I really running the ship.
Yeah, please do.
For those of you who don't know, Ross and I grew up together, started this business, and as we were in the developmental phase,
Yes.
we met Ethan, and then he came on board. But that means when the company launched, it was Ross and Riley ideas, and
Right.
it showed.
Yeah, not bad ideas, just not the right ideas.
So
That's being generous.
we need so much more than that.
That's what we're talking about.
We're gonna open up our legacy pictures. This is it. I think we've shown these on the show before.
Yep.
This is what Valor was before Ethan.
Yes, this is a nice little embarrassing anecdote that we can share. The very first purchase we made as a company was those aprons right there. How much do you think those were? Were they like 60, 70?
I remember, yeah, in the 70, 80 range.
Yeah.
Bought them at Citizen Supply, right?
Yep. And the only reason we bought them is because we went to Methodical in Greenville and we saw Will shirts, which Will, I know you're listening. Thank you for being a friend of the program. We saw those cats wearing those sick aprons, and we said, if we're gonna have a Baratza Encore as our only grinder, then we at least have to have some ball and aprons. And Those aprons are in this warehouse and they get used still.
Best purchase ever.
I like to wear them.
You know, I think I'm going to have to get Valor to reimburse me for those.
That was a personal expense.
Yeah.
I remember Riley and I had a little spreadsheet. I don't know if it was even quite a spreadsheet. I think it was a little bit more like organic.
I think yeah, it probably was a spreadsheet by the end of it.
Sure.
Our first spreadsheet.
Yeah, our first spreadsheet was us making sure that we were both personally spending the same amount of money on Valor, since we had equal ownership. We still do. But I you know, I'm trying to just kind of parse out like our style of service back then at that time was really just shaped around our experience working in whatever cafe we were working in, right? Like we both started at the same cafe as our first coffee job, and I think we probably offered some of the most terrible service ever
for sure
back then. I remember
we were just terrible employees.
Yeah. We were also 18.
Yeah.
Which no excuse, but hey, you live and you learn. I remember someone ordered a caramel macchiato, and it took everything in me to not be like, to hand this guy like, you know, a ceramic 3-ounce macchiato with caramel pumped in it. But I didn't do it. I rose above, and I made him a caramel
and you've
latte.
just been rising above ever since.
Which is not saying much because that was a pretty low moment. But anyways, you know, we were working in these cafes, serving people, and really the highlight was way more on like making coffee than it was service. And one's not more important than the other. You got to have both. But I remember some of the first interactions I had with Ethan while in a service atmosphere. We were working at a restaurant at Nido Cafe, and I just saw the way he interacted with customers, and I was like, what's wrong with this guy? Like, why is he being so nice to these people that he doesn't relate with? And I think that's really at the core of one of the problems I had is like, if someone comes in and they don't know about coffee and they aren't like a young, hip person, I'm not going to be nice to them, which is so beyond immature and, you know, was a reflection of where I was at in my life. I wasn't like an evil guy or something. It's just like I didn't know how to relate with people that were unlike me. But Ethan, when I watched him, he would just be like treat everybody the same. And whether somebody was a 60-year-old woman or if it was a fellow 19-year-old pour over making at the time skinny jean wearing, cool guy.
Yeah. Hey, maybe he could relate on a friendship level a little more with the hip guy, and he did.
Right.
But if you're in coffee or if you're in a service job, your attitude is probably shouldn't be, I'm just here to find friends who are walking through the door.
Right.
And it's kind of funny how the things turn, because now I feel like I relate more and on all the times I work on bar,
right.
like 3-4 times a week.
Yes.
I relate a lot more to the 45-year-old wearing the like Buffalo Bills shirt walking through the door than I do to the hip young guy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of, I'm not a hip young guy anymore.
You're ancient, man. You're ancient.
Yeah. Looking at these pictures, we have aged a little bit.
Yeah, I think I've got some forehead wrinkles and, but hey, kids and owning a business will do that to you.
I still have that shirt.
I'm sure you do. You keep your clothes for a long time, buddy.
Buy it for life. I wore a shirt to church on Sunday that I've had since I was 16 years old.
Which one?
I haven't worn it in a long time.
I'm sure I know the one.
It's like it's blue and white checkered. Like I don't know what you call the material, but it's that really like summery material.
Yeah, almost. Is it kind of linen-y?
It's kind of linen-y. Is chambray? Is that a thing?
It's a thing. I don't know if it's the right thing though.
Okay. Well, what's chambray?
Dude, You're asking the wrong guy. I think Ethan would know.
Ethan would know. Ethan, if you're listening, smash like.
Yeah.
And comment what chambray is.
That
this isn't it. Chambray is kind of like almost fake denim.
Right.
Or like denim, but different.
Yes.
It's not chambray.
The swagger of denim without the liabilities. That's chambray. With denim, I don't know if you know this, Big T, but you actually can't wash it. Because
you're not allowed.
You're not allowed to wash denim.
That doesn't work if you try.
Yeah, literally, it won't work because denim is meant to smell. Mm-hmm. And tell me this, Big T. What has been your? That looks like an important wholesale call. Call him back.
If you're listening to the podcast, we'll call you back.
I will call you back. You have gone through some raw denim in your life, yes? Since we're talking about the old days.
Okay, yes, I have.
What is the most money that you've ever dropped on denim? And I know you probably didn't buy them new. You probably bought them on Grailed or something.
Well, that's where you'd be mistaken.
Okay. Set me straight.
I don't think I've ever purchased a pair of raw denim on Grailed. Wow. Reason being, I used to work at Chrome Yellow.
Yeah.
And Chrome Yellow used to be a Rogue Territory in 316 stockist.
Oh, 316. I had some of those.
And so I was a big Rogue Territory fan. So I would get Rogue Territory at Chrome Yellow's discount. Yeah. Kyle, if you're listening, I'm not going to tell people what the discount was. Don't worry.
Yeah. Kyle, smash like.
Yeah, Kyle, smash like. But I was able to walk out. I mean, I'm still spending more than I spent on my last pair of jeans from Everlane new because I don't really wear raw denim anymore. But I have thought about getting a pair.
Yeah.
Because there are aspects that I miss.
Like what?
So a lot of people, do you remember how the thing was always like you're supposed to buy them like so tight that you can barely get them on?
Yeah.
I think if I was going to do it again, I wouldn't go as extreme as I was before. Also because I just don't wear my pants as tight now.
Right.
Because like pants, even raw denim, I remember Dale and Justin would like make fun of us for wearing raw denim because they weren't skin tight. Like Dale, Justin, and David.
Yeah. Man, what's wrong with that?
And now none of them are wearing tight pants. What's up?
It's true. They're all getting looser by the day.
Yeah. So, interesting, guys. But I wear pants that are looser than what I wore back then as those. So I'd probably get like more of an athletic cut or something.
Yeah.
A little bit looser, just so I would have the form-fitting thing.
So we can see your thighs.
Well, no, just so you wouldn't see my thighs as much. And that you'd have the benefit of the denim forming to your leg and whatever.
Right.
The fades, a good pair of jeans, but you wouldn't be like suffocating.
Right.
I remember the first pair of raw denim I purchased. Okay, so the first pair I bought was at Chrome Yellow the first time I ever went there. Maybe the second time. But before I worked there, it was a pair of black Rogue Territory raw denim, like the thick ones.
What influenced that purchase? Was it like you saw some cats around Atlanta and you were like, those guys know what's going on?
I think more than anything, it was about the selvage line. You know, like on the cuffs.
You got to roll those things.
It's decorative.
Why else own them?
Yeah. So that was probably the biggest part of it, and I probably just like followed a couple of places on Instagram or something. So I bought those, and I think the same night or the next day, we went and saw Hateful Eight.
Me and you?
Me, you, Rachel,
and
Alcorn, I think.
What a vibe of a movie. I mean, it wasn't my favorite, but you feel like you're stepping into a different world.
So we saw it because they did like a film tour, like where they were showing it as like the actual film instead of digital. We saw it at Atlantic Station, and I was wearing those pants for like the second time, and I was miserable because they were so uncomfortable.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. Talk to me about the worst, most regrettable moment in a pair of raw denim, and then talk to me about how you justified it. You're like, oh, no, we're sticking this out.
It had to have been either that moment,
Yeah.
because it genuinely took away from my movie experience from a movie I really wanted to see.
You were just chafing.
I was chafing. You call me chafing.
Chateful 8.
Either that moment or this moment right here,
Oh, gosh.
because that was pretty tough.
But look at
as
that
well.
selvage line, though.
Oh, it was
makes
hot.
it all worth it.
It was hot. Those were my favorite pair. Reason being, and this is the reason I'm considering. I was, it's not really a consideration, but if I was gonna get another pair,
Yeah.
I would get this pair or a pair like this, because they were the lightest ones I owned. And then they were like so dark indigo that they were almost black. So whenever they faded, you wouldn't get like really light blue lines. You would just get like what jeans usually look like lines. But those pants blew out like 3 times, and I had to keep getting them repaired. And
I remember.
that is why. I remember I got them repaired one time.
Yeah.
The first time I wore them after that, we were at the cart, me, you, Ethan, at Open.
I remember.
And I saw on my phone that there was like an eclipse happening. And I was like, we gotta go see this. So we run up to the parking lot and we like jump the wall to where the parking lot is, and they just like blow out.
Yeah, man. And nothing against the selvage community, because I know it's you all are a tight knit, sort of eclectic mix, a brotherhood, a sisterhood.
Oh yeah.
No offense, but I just feel like the funny thing about raw denim and selvage is that, which I don't know if those are the same thing. Are they the same thing?
They aren't, but
Is it
usually
kind of like
they
whiskey
overlap.
bourbon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no.
No.
You can get raw denim that aren't selvage, and you can get selvage jeans that aren't raw denim.
Okay, so not like whiskey bourbon.
Selvage has to do with the stitching,
Mm-hmm.
and thus usually you get that line
Sure.
in the hem.
Yeah.
Whereas raw denim has to do with the jeans never being washed.
Yeah. It's funny how popular raw denim at least was when we were coming up in the coffee game, because I can't think of a worse article of clothing to wear behind bar, because it's usually thick, it's hot, and the thing about it, it's not mobile usually, because you're kind of perpetually breaking in your pair, and then you can't wash the things. So it just,
Smell like spoiled milk.
How bad did your raw denim smell?
Pretty bad.
And how much did Michaela complain about that? Or she understood. She was in on it.
I think that maybe she probably said something about it, and then she probably just gave up. She was just like, this isn't
kind of his thing. Don't want to squash him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember when you would wash them in the bathtub? Did you ever do that?
I was never that committed.
Okay. Yeah. So it would be like you would get your bathtub. You would use like some fancy detergent, probably like this much.
Yeah.
Put it in the tub, mix it up, and then you put your pants in there, and then like get a bunch of like mugs to like sink the pants, and you just leave them for a while.
Mugs.
You wouldn't scrub them.
No.
Couldn't do that. That'd ruin the fades.
Right.
Oh, what a world.
Man.
Respect though. People got their hobbies, and that's a hobby. And some people have stuck it out. Taylor Chow, he's still rocking raw denim, and they look great.
I think they look awesome.
Yeah.
I was just burned because like, to be honest, you always told me like, dude, once these things break in, like you're gonna love them.
So it's my fault.
You're gonna love them. Like they're gonna be like wearing pajamas. I think that's what you used to say. And like I wore them every day. I was sweating it out behind bar, like for the big payoff of the day I would put them on.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, these are like pajamas. They never came. The day never came.
It never will. I promise.
They did blow out, and they did smell like sweat, milk, and coffee, and regrets. But
well, that just gave us a good podcast idea. Barista outfits. Yeah.
We could
Episode in the future.
Episode, or I'm talking about series.
Yeah.
Like
Episode 1, hats and hats/teeny beanies.
Yes.
Episode 2, long tees.
Long tees. Yeah, you kind of got the like fast fashion H&M route, but you've also got the like what you used to wear, like the nice t-shirts.
Yep.
Yep. There's a lot of different, and then you get the thrifter.
Well, it was the 316 t-shirts. You had one of those, right? at one point?
I never had a 316. I had
Taylor Stitch.
yeah.
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 I still have some of those 316 t-shirts.
They're great.
A lot of them are too small for me now. But, you know, if you want a pair of actual pants that feel like pajamas, Outlier. They've got you covered.
Yeah. Well, that's a different material, right?
Oh, yeah.
Altogether.
Completely. It's definitely not denim. Oh, man.
Wow. I mean, where do we go from here?
I think we can just wrap.
After that gold radio.
That's part 1. If Ethan was here, he'd be like, all right,
yeah.
part 1.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for joining on.
Yep.
Like, Ethan, dude, we still got 2 more hours.
Well, you know, you mentioned caramel macchiatos in there at some point.
I did.
And I think that's a good segue for our next segment.
Yeah. I didn't do that on purpose, even though it seems like I did.
But we do have some things to clear up from last episode, I think.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is part 3 of 3 of our 3-part series on the most common questions we get by people starting coffee shops.
Yeah.
So part 1, we talked hiring. Part 2, we talked equipment. And today we're going to talk about your menu. So in part 2, I had some words. We all had some words, but especially me on Mahlkönig and their E80 and E line of grinders.
Yeah.
Their newest stuff.
How was the response from the global web on that?
You know, I wouldn't say, you know, we had a ton of hate behind it. We did have some people sharing their experiences. Let me just pull up some YouTube comments for us. We had more of a response in regards to our volumetric machine
Yep.
suggestion, and we'll discuss that as well. But as far as grinders specifically, I believe one comment was from Elias, and he was telling us, my first pro grinder was a hand doser. The advantage was either over grinding or leaving it running would allow you to store some ground spro to quickly fill a bunch of portafilters in succession. Not very accurately, but even so. So I'm assuming that's like a super jolly with like the
Yep.
That's an interesting point there.
Wow. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
So you grind, if you have a doser, a clickety clacker, Elias, that's what we call it. You're going to grind coffee into the chamber, and then you're going to over grind it to where you're probably grinding for what, 30 seconds at that point? Maybe not really 30, like 20 seconds. And then you're clickety clacking 3 or 4 portafilters.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Interesting.
Colson says, my favorite grinder is the Mr. Coffee Automatic Burr Mill.
There you go.
Thanks, Colson. Hey, you whatever you got. It's and you know that's a burr grinder, so there's that's great. I pre-grind my coffee, so you're a step ahead of me.
That's right.
Josh Cappuccino is jealous of your Silver Sky, so
You can borrow it anytime, Josh.
I'm jealous of it too, Josh. I get it.
I'd trade.
Straight trade.
No, I wouldn't.
You would want me to boot money?
No, I just
You just wouldn't trade.
Yeah, if I was just going to have one guitar, it would just be a Strat. Yeah.
I have
No offense.
a Gibson ES 335. Okay.
That's right. You get that iced tea burst.
Well,
Is that what you call it?
I think it's called Faded Light Burst,
Okay.
but
It's close to iced tea.
apples and oranges. Am I right?
Yep.
Wait, no, that's not.
Potatoes and potatoes.
Potato. And then Colson says the audio listeners have no idea how much they are missing by not seeing the new art in the podcast studio.
Which will remain nameless.
Yeah. If you want to see it, then you have to head on over to our YouTube channel
Smash like.
and smash like while you're there and hit that subscribe and obliterate the like button again after that. So I did want to say this about the E80. We have been in conversations with our supplier of Mahlkönig equipment, And last week, you heard me say retrofit at least 3 times.
Yeah.
And I'm here to let you know that they have released a retrofitted lid. Yeah? Is it the lid or is the carrier? Yeah?
It could be that entire top assembly. We haven't received the E80 back from the shop yet. But when we do,
Yes.
when we will, break that down. Like, how does that mean? When we do, we'll definitely, maybe I'll just plop that thing right here on
Perfect.
the table for everybody to see.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's the top carrier, if it's the, whatever it is, but it's definitely something having to do with the lid.
So certainly my biggest complaint last week was that they weren't acknowledging the issue.
Yeah.
I think that they are acknowledging the issue by this.
Yep.
My recommendation to them would be, send this retrofit to everyone. They clearly aren't going to do that. Or do a recall where you have to write in to request it. But it's a step in the right direction, and I appreciate that. And who knows, maybe if it works, we'll have E80s everywhere.
It says that the grinder was received yesterday at 11:52 a.m. at the dock, received by Westbrook.
Interesting.
You didn't do that?
I wasn't here yesterday, so unless there's another Westbrook.
Maybe Sam just said his name was Westbrook or Ariel.
Yeah.
But it's out there right now.
Great.
So,
well, we'll test that and we'll let you guys know.
yep.
So there's that, and then now on to the next topic of discussion. I posted this reel of Ross talking about automatic volumetric espresso machines. Let's take a listen.
You're trying to do a skinny build out. The range and price for espresso machines is pretty big. If you're trying to go cheap and the espresso machine is manual, be prepared to train your baristas as such. You're saving money now, but you're spending money later. One, like wasted shots, because people are going to forget to stop the shot manually and it'll overflow. And then also just training people. Your drink times will probably be longer too, which is going to cost money for you. Having a auto volumetric machine where it stops the shot for you is so huge.
So, our point being here is, if, first of all, I will say automatic volumetric machines have an infinity button. Mm-hmm. So
That was my thought.
If you like the manual vibe, just press that bad boy and call it a day.
Yeah.
So let's react to our comments.
Okay.
So Tetherball / our friend Elias says, for us, it was on the wire for auto volumetric, but I couldn't imagine going with a manual now. It's a massive help for multitasking and consistency dialing in. Excellent word.
Yeah.
That's a good example of, you're starting a machine, you have to spend, you're starting a cafe, you have to spend so much money on so many different things. You're like, should I do it? Elias did it, and here's his testimony. He's glad he did. Bellwood Coffee says, true. Thanks, Bellwood. Our good friend of the show, JP, says, this is something I needed to hear.
Wow.
And then his wife, Summer, says
Publicly,
I'll be sending y'all a bill for $7,000. And we were like,
dead.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
Now, David Funk, friend of the show,
Friend of the program.
skinny build out sounds hot.
Unrelated, David.
But I agree.
But true.
And then here's the hot, the meat of all this right here. Yeah. Garrett says, fair, but manuals are 1, super fun, and also 2, I dig not having to adjust my grind if temp in the shop changes. You can just pull it longer or shorter with the same grind / dose and keep your spro dialed that way, which is super helpful for a rush. Someone said, huge brain,
Yep.
Delatin X3.
It's a good point.
Yeah, no,
That's a great
I
point.
totally agree. And then Lauren, fully loaded, says, agree. You're going to have bad wasted shots with AV as well, agreed, without as much freedom to make micro adjustments during a rush. That's where I don't agree. I don't think there's any shame in investing in the more accessible option while over time investing through barista training. I agree.
Agree.
My experience with manual machines is that once you're trained and used to it, you have a pretty good internal clock going and you learn flow to accommodate for it.
True.
I also agree. And, we see that by, when we set a volumetric shot, we internally know when that shot's going to be done.
Yeah.
So I tried to articulate a response that was I don't think anyone was like mad here.
Sure.
Except, maybe in the accessible option area. And I totally agree. It's like we compromised in a lot of areas when we opened our cafe, obviously. Or sorry, cafe and cart. So I said, yeah, we totally validate what you're saying. If you're chasing your dreams and are trying to start a business with whatever means you have, buy the machine you can. Our experience with the rush situation is that this is what was really hard for me to articulate, and I just want to kind of like discuss it.
Yeah.
Our experience with the rush situation is that when your burrs start heating up / the environment of your space changes, if your grinder has a timer, simply taking whatever it gives you, which will be different than when you were dialed in. So say you dialed in at 18.5 and it changes to... what does it usually go up when it gets hot? It goes up to 19.
Yeah.
Just take that, and if you pull your volumetric shot, it's going to give you the same volume, just in a different time, but your dose also changed to accommodate for that.
Yep.
So whenever that happens, you're probably going to get similar results. And if we're being real, when you're in a rush, you're not getting espresso, unless you're, in a area where that's common, which I think I've even worked in the more hip part of Atlanta, and even there, it wasn't that common. It'd be like rush, you're probably making some cappuccinos, and you might get one espresso. But even with us, when we get that one espresso, we're going to make sure we are super dialed on that spro before we hand it out. So point being, if you like a manual machine, then by all means, plenty of people do. Plenty of people have the La Marzocco Leva, Leva, whatever it's called.
Yeah. So many people have that machine.
Yeah, it's just everywhere. I've totally seen it before.
Everywhere, man.
So, if you're into that, then great. But I've worked on a manual machine, and I have the internal clock.
Yeah.
And I've also worked on the volumetric machine, and it's just it's not even close.
Yeah.
The volumetric is going to produce a more efficient workflow if you know how to use it.
Sure.
And there's different ways of dialing in, and different standards for quality, but I venture to say that it all evens out in the end, and I would take the efficiency.
So let's spell that out. I know we have a topic to get to, but spell that out a little. Can you go back to the comment?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Because I just need to be able to remember it. So, what Garrett and Lauren are saying is, if you have a manual machine, let's just say it like this: there's scenario A, and that's scenario B. Scenario A is what Garrett and Lauren are saying. Scenario B is, let's say, what we're proposing. And emphasis on proposing. It's obviously, anytime you say anything, you can't say everything. So in order to say something, you have to not say everything. And
beautifully said.
That's what we're doing on this show. That's what we're doing on this reel, is we're saying a thing. And just because we're saying it doesn't mean that it's universally applicable. But in order to say something, you can't say everything. Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad we just got the conversation going.
Oh, me too.
It's so fun to like debate on Instagram comment sections, isn't it?
I think so. I enjoy it. I think probably everyone doesn't. And they didn't really respond to what I said, so I hope they're not offended. But I wasn't offended by them questioning our logic by any means. Yeah. I enjoyed it, and I enjoy what people have to say.
I think if you're going to debate on an Instagram comment section, make it about something silly like this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like no one's
So
gonna
it's
just
actually
like harbor
fun.
a grudge. I mean, okay, that's completely wrong. Plenty of people are gonna harbor a grudge over coffee.
Yeah,
but we're not gonna harbor a grudge.
Yeah, and I don't. Garrett's a great guy. I really enjoy him.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Garrett, if I see you on the street, I'm gonna dap you up. No hard feelings after this crazy debacle that happened.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so scenario A, scenario B, right? Scenario A, Garrett and Lauren are suggesting you're in a rush. Okay, let's say that morning you dialed in at 18 grams in, 40 grams out in 26 seconds. Okay, pretty standard, Atlanta shot of espresso. You're going through your morning service. It's going great. 10:30 a.m. hits. You're slinging lots of lattes, cortados, stuff like that, and the temperature in the cafe starts to heat up. Your burrs start to heat up, and let's say your dose increases. Let's say you were at 18. It starts giving you 18.7. You're forced to make a decision on what to do there in that scenario. What they're saying is, at that point, there's going to be more coffee packed in your portafilter, right? Because it went from 18 to 18.7. That means that if you pulled a shot 18.7 grams in, 40 grams out, then that shot would be less extracted than what you dialed in at, assuming that the grind was the same.
Okay.
Which it's not, though.
Yeah.
And so what they're saying...
But I don't want to make any assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
but the type of place that is using a manual machine and would dial in on the fly is probably using a scale for dose. Yeah? You
Yes.
agree with that? Okay.
Yeah.
On every shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Garrett, write in on the Instagram comments. I know you're listening. If you guys use a scale on every single one of your shots, that'd be interesting to know. But anyways, so he's saying like it's really easy to mess with yield. That's really his whole point on a manual machine. So if you can tell that this shot is going to be under extracted, then you can let that thing run to 45 grams out. I think that's what he's saying.
Well, yeah, probably because your time is dwindling down. You said what was the time before?
On the second shot or the first shot?
The dialed in shot.
26.
So this shot's probably, coming down, yeah?
In time.
If the burrs heated up,
Yes.
and they're using the same dose,
Yes.
then their end time is probably like 22 seconds.
Yes. Okay.
And so they're going to pull the shot longer.
Yes. Okay. I was confused because I was kind of mixing like their philosophy with our philosophy.
Yep.
And that's why you said the thing about the scale.
Yes.
So yes, that makes sense. If you're at 10:30 a.m. and it gives you 18.7 grams, and you're like, oh gosh, this grinder's heating up, or the ambient temperature in the room's heating up, you're gonna scoop out 7 grams, put it into your little demi, right? And then you're at 18, but your grind is coarser because the grinder's being naughty. So you're like, oh crap, the baristas, you'll get this, okay? I know you'll get this. The shot is at 20.
I gotta get this to 26 second switch shot.
Right. So your shot is gushing, right? It's going fast. 20 seconds passes by on the timer and you're at 40 grams and you're like, okay, am I going to stop this shot now or am I going to let this thing run to like 47 yield and get a more extraction,
And probably better.
Right.
It's just obviously it's going to be, again, you're in a rush where you're probably serving lattes.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have a watery as hell shot in your milk heavy beverage.
But better extracted.
Yeah. Which,
So I think that is a viable option.
I've been in that scenario too many times to count.
It's a pro play.
Yeah.
So that's scenario A, right? Scenario B, what you're saying is you dialed in at 18 to 40 at 26 seconds at 7 a.m. that morning. Yeah. Shots are going great. 10:30 a.m.
On volumetric.
On volumetric.
Yeah.
10:30 a.m. rolls around. It gives you 18.7 grams in the portafilter, right? You just tamp the thing and let it run to 40 grams out.
Yeah. It probably in
26
the same
seconds.
Time. Yeah.
I would be interested to test the TDS of both of those shots and the extraction percentage of both of those shots. Because in theory, let's talk about all the things that changed in scenario B. Your dose increased by 0.7 grams. Your grind got coarser because the grinder heated up, and it was easier for beans to pass through, which makes the dose higher. So you got a higher dose, you've got a coarser grind, and then you've got the same yield. So I'm interested to see, like, what does that do to the end product, you know?
Well, we have A/B taste tested, which at the end of the day, you can talk about extraction percentage all you want, but what it tastes like
is king.
The king. So in the A/B tests, it's nearly identical. You know, obviously a little bit of change, but again, if we were to get an order for an espresso, we would get back to the spot where we knew it was good.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true?
So if I have five lattes and 2 cappuccinos on my kitchen display, and then I see an espresso come in, and I'm like, okay, these shots aren't really going that well, I would probably
Make your adjustment early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would bump the grinder the tiniest bit finer, and let those shots for the lattes run.
So you're not wasting anything during the purge cycles.
Right.
Yeah.
And then hopefully by the time I get to the espresso, we're back at 18 to 40 and 26. But if it doesn't happen, then here's what I suggest, okay? I think this is the best of both worlds between scenario A and B. Let's say you have a volumetric machine. You're 18 to 40, 26 seconds, right? In the morning, 10:30 a.m. rolls around. The grinder starts acting up, and you're just continually rolling. As soon as I see those shots start to act up, and then I see an espresso come in, or I see a cappuccino come in, or I see a cortado come in, or if that standard of excellence is there and you are just so anal about perfectly extracted espresso in your lattes every single time, then I automatically switch to manual shots just for a second until I get my stuff figured out. Let's say I see a shot act up. It didn't go well, so I just dump it. So that was a waste. And then I press... on the next shot, I'm going to hit the infinity button, the manual button. So especially if the shots are like running really slow or really fast, it's great to be able to just like hit the infinity button, the non-volumetric button, so that I can have more control. But yeah, scintillating conversation.
Yeah, good radio. A great video idea for good old Sam to make.
Yeah.
As the talent would be how to handle your burrs hitting up during a rush.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
And he can do both scenarios, and he can test with a refractometer.
Yeah, that's a good thing to put out to our listeners too. Like, you guys, if you have any of those questions, of like, man, I have this thing I can't figure out in coffee, or I really wish I had the time to put in some research on a certain topic within the industry. We have a gentleman on staff named Sam. He's our lead roaster. And part of his job is to debunk coffee myths, to do research and development on things related to bar flow, like we're talking about. And then we get to use that information for our own purposes as we scale our business, but we also get to share that with the coffee community. So first of all, smash like. Second of all, comment on if you have any sort of myths or things you want Sam to work through. But yeah, this has been a good. Are we good on the camera?
Well, it did stop recording, so they probably haven't had any vision of you lately. But I'm going to reset it. We're going to take a bathroom break, and then we're going to come back and talk about menus.
Sounds good.
All right, so very quickly, we just opened the E80, and we're just going to give our first impressions of the new lid.
Yeah, so we just received it here. And there appears to be a note. Let's read it.
Wow.
Remove packing peanuts before use. This new insert helps with some feed issues. You may or may not need it. Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Mock.
This is Okay, so this is new. You said this helps with some feeding issues.
Okay.
Never had any feeding issues, but
Is it
if we did, they're eliminated.
great? Why not use it? Am I right?
Yeah, so it just kind of plops in there. Great. And we did remove the packing peanuts before use. So the E80, we're going to loosen these flathead screws here. Looks like they lost one of the washers. No worries. And then it should, let's see, come on, baby. It should. Okay. Let's see if we can take these all the way out, if that helps. Let's see if that helps. Oh, great.
It's good.
Yes.
Amazing.
Wow. Would you look at that? Okay, yeah, I mean, easy access to the clump C, the CC.
The good old clumsy.
I am pleased and skeptical, but that is night and day difference. This is what was hard.
Yeah.
So
Let's run some coffee through it, and then we'll.
yeah, let's run another 5,000 through it. See what happens. But yeah, to be continued.
Beautiful. Well, you heard it here first.
I don't know if these are available to the
masses.
the masses. I don't know if it's because we had like a partnership with this distributor or not, but
What did they call it exactly? Let me just do a quick Google search.
I want to say it's just an upgraded material. I think it's like aluminum.
Aluminum.
An aluminum E80 lid.
Nope.
There's a lot of things named E80 apparently.
I just don't even know what to search for this, but it does seem as if this is going to be a better grinder now. Right on. I'm just going to let Ross move it out of the way.
All right.
Alrighty, Ross. Let's talk menu, huh?
Let's do it.
What's your favorite thing about menus?
Just the legibility.
Yeah.
You know, like the fact that I can read it. Yeah, what about you?
My favorite thing about menus is that one time you were at a place and you sent me a text message. It was probably a week after I told you what lorem ipsum was.
Okay. Yes.
And you sent me a picture where they left lorem ipsum on the menu.
Upside down.
Upside down.
That would be a really funny picture to pull up if that's even possible. But anyways, yeah, we thought we'd talk about coffee shop menus today. The past 2 weeks. This is the third week. We've been talking about the most common questions we get as a wholesale partner to people who are starting coffee shops. A lot of people that are starting coffee shops haven't done it before. A lot of them have worked at Starbucks for 6 years, and they're looking to start a coffee shop that is more specialty coffee or maybe less automated than Starbucks. And also a lot of people who are starting coffee shops have zero coffee experience, and they don't want to be involved in the day-to-day operation of the cafe. And so they are scouring the earth for someone to run their coffee shop. And many times the people who they find are people who have worked at Starbucks for 6 years. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I do know what it is. Starbucks is just popular, and a lot of people have worked there. So if those people that have worked at Starbucks for 6 years are really great at like systems and bar flow and even managing people. But there are some things that people rely on us to help them with. And so today is shaping your menu whenever you're starting as a cafe. We'll kind of come at this from a few different angles. But when we say menu, we're kind of talking about two different arenas. One is, what does my, like if I have like an overhead menu at the cafe, you know, the things on it like latte or caramel latte or cortado or macchiato or breve or flat white, like what of those things do I include in the menu? That's the first thing. The other thing is, what coffees am I going to buy? Should I have a geisha on espresso? Should I have a French roast on espresso? You know, how many different coffees do I need to have? How much variety do I need to have? Versus, should I just have the same coffee on espresso every day? Or should I change it up just to, you know, keep people interested? And so these are sort of the things that we like to help people with. But I guess we'll start with just like building an espresso menu.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. I'll pull up hours real quick.
Sure. Yeah. So it can be definitely very daunting, and it's hard to know where to start whenever you're making your first espresso menu for your cafe that you're opening, or if you're trying to revamp yours after you've been open for a while. But the idea with everything in service and maybe in business in general is to imagine yourself in the shoes of your customer, looking up at your menu or looking down at their phone at the QR code menu, or, you know, looking down at your bar where your menu is, to get inside of their head and imagine you are them and try to ask the question, what would I want to see if I was in their shoes? And it's helpful to imagine that customer or that guest was 3 or 4 different demographics, right? So if I walked into, what I like to do, if I walked into Valor, I want to pretend like I am a specialty coffee V60 at home making person that knows what a cortado is and knows what a flat white is. I want to imagine I'm them. What would I think when I look at this menu? Is it helpful to me? Is it digestible to me? And then equally as important, if I was a 65-year-old gentleman who just likes Folgers and doesn't know about no mocha, joca, frappuccino, no nothing, mocha, bajoka, doka, boca, kind of fancy moo-moo, schnoo-moo coffee, you know.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
I could keep going. I've heard some stuff. If I am in his shoes, I want it to be equally as helpful to me. And so it's important to, that's kind of the overall philosophy, is like, we don't want to make a menu that is just like fun for us to make, or like, you know, that is important. But what's chiefly important is empathy for your guests, because they're going to pay your bills. And also equally as important to that, if not more important, is, can your team execute on the menu efficiently? Can your team make all the drinks on your menu in a systematized, professional, efficient, consistent way? Because if they can't, then don't put it on the menu. So how do you want to approach this? You just want to go through our menu, or do you want to talk about some common misconceptions?
Let's just go through our menu. We'll talk about, you know, even some of our verbiage. We'll talk about some exclusions.
Yeah.
And some nuance to some of these drinks.
Yeah. So, in general, when somebody looks up at a menu, they're going to read from the top left to the bottom right. Mm-hmm. There, I said it. I don't know if that's fully true.
Yeah, if you're centered, then it would be top to bottom. But if you have a layout like this, then yeah, you're going to start on the left top, work your way over to the right.
So top left, we got Valor. That's a good start. And then we have the traditional menu. Notice we didn't put teas on the top left. Notice we didn't put other on the top left. We just put traditional, what you would expect at a coffee shop. And we put just, again, I don't know if we had this thought when we were making this menu, but it makes sense. If I'm that 65-year-old dude and I don't want no mocha joke of frappuccino, caramel macchiato BS, I just want a cup of black coffee with a splash and half. I'm immediately going to catch my eye to traditional. All right, that's a great start. I like traditional. And then I'm going to see coffee. All right, give me that. Give me that top left, first thing I saw thing, coffee. Then I'm going to look away and give you my $3 and you can keep the change. That's great. That's empathy for that dude. But then, if I'm walking up and I know more about coffee, or if I love to go to coffee shops, I'm going to see that traditional menu: coffee, espresso, Americano, cortado, cappuccino, latte, iced latte. That's our traditional menu. And more or less, it goes from no milk down to the most milk. And that's a really great way to consume a set of information as you're trying to decide what you want to get, right? I've seen from my travels around different coffee shops and wholesale partners, I see a lot of people just like they start with latte and then return caramel latte, return vanilla latte, return turtle mocha, and while those may be some of your most popular drinks, I would like to propose that it might be better to take an approach like this, because you're starting with something that is very easily digestible, which is coffee, and then you're kind of just working down the menu, adding more and more milk as you go down. So
starting from, you just said coffee. If a critic walked in, a specialty coffee snob, a connoisseur of sorts, they would say, coffee? Aren't all these drinks coffee? Now, we do know that all these drinks are coffee, in fact, and we made the decision to say coffee, not drip coffee.
Or filter.
Not filter brew, not batch brew, because what do people call it?
I'll take
People
a coffee.
say, I'll take a large coffee with cream and sugar.
Yep.
So, the philosophy of that, again, stepping into the bulk of your audience. What do you say when you go into a place and order a coffee? Do you say, I say, I'll take a drip coffee.
I think I'll say I'll have a coffee.
Great.
Or like, I'll kind of look behind the bar and see if they have batch brew. And then sometimes I'll be like, I'll take a batch brew. Or a cup of coffee. These nuanced topics.
Man, we could go forever on this.
We could do a whole series.
Yeah. So we offer a 12 and a 16 ounce. We're not going to get into prices here too much.
Yeah.
I would say examine your own costs, examine your competitors, examine other people in your market, and make your decision based off of that.
Yep.
I don't know when the last time I really paid attention to someone's prices at a different coffee shop in comparison to ours. I just know our costs and what we need to do to, make money.
And we know our customers' perception.
Yeah.
So, as we move down, let's talk about what we omitted here, because we already said what we committed.
Yes.
We didn't put macchiato on the menu because, in case you don't know, there's a bit of confusion as it relates to what a macchiato is. A traditional macchiato or more like a Starbucks macchiato. I made this little segment earlier. Sorry, Mikey is calling. Can you bring ice? We're going to bring ice later.
Yeah, later. Sorry, Mikey. It'll be later. We're
We're trying to do radio right now. So a traditional macchiato is what, Big T?
A traditional macchiato is, probably 2 ounces of espresso
Yeah.
with an ounce of steamed milk.
Yeah. Usually maybe like milk that's a bit on the thicker side.
Yeah.
Right. If you go to Italy, you guys heard of Italy? You're going to get, and you order a macchiato, you're going to get a super dark espresso, and then you're going to get probably like a spoon of not microfoam, but like froth, like frothy goop on the
Dollop.
top. A dollop.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be great. It's just going to be like its own thing.
And dark.
It's not how we would make it. But if I was going to make a macchiato, I would steam milk like I normally would, maybe add a little bit more air. And then whenever I pour the drink, I'm going to make sure that I like get that foam incorporated as much as possible in the milk pitcher, get it super swirly so that the thick milk on the top doesn't separate from the thin milk on the bottom. And then I'm going to pour a nice, probably 2-stack tulip because I can't really do anything more than that in a macchiato.
I'm going slow, Zeta.
Yeah, in a macchiato.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. But what happened was Starbucks coined the American interpretation of the macchiato, and with it, the caramel macchiato. So it would be interesting to know what percentage of our guests that come into our cafe know what a traditional macchiato is versus if you just said macchiato, they're going to think of like a caramel macchiato, 12 or 16 or 24 or 48 ounces. And so we just decided, let's just not even join in on that conversation. Let's save the time and the confusion and not even put macchiato on the menu because it's just not worth it. And we don't even like macchiatos that much, like traditional ones. So we didn't even want to really put it on the menu.
That's the thing about starting a business is you can, obviously we are stepping into the shoes of people and thinking about, what they think, but you can also do things because you like or don't like something. So no macchiato. And what do we do when someone orders a macchiato?
When somebody says, I'll have a macchiato, I, as snooty as I possibly can, which there's not a snooty desire at all when somebody asks that. I just want to get them the drink they want. I just say, are you looking for a traditional macchiato, like a pretty small drink, like 3 ounces, nice and strong, or do you want more of like a bigger, like 12-ounce size kind of drink? So I start there and get a grip on what they want. That usually solves it. So easy. That doesn't happen that much, though. People just don't order that much. If somebody says, I'll have a caramel macchiato, I know what they mean. And I'm going to ring in a caramel latte and say, coming right up.
Yep. And they're going to love it.
Yeah. I'm not going to like correct and educate them. I'm going to get them a nice coffee. And so that's that.
I was looking at June's sales. I think we served 3 traditional macchiatos.
Interesting. Yeah. So
because we have the button in our POS.
Right.
We just don't have the word on the menu.
Yep.
Going through here real quick, we all know what an Americano is. 12 ounce, we put a double shot. 16 ounce, we put 3 shots.
Yep.
Cortado, this is an interesting one.
Are we going to disclose?
Should we?
Is this the format?
Oh my
The medium to do this?
I don't know.
Let's do it.
Okay,
guys. Here's the thing. When we opened our cafe, we had a decision to make. Are we going to put Cortado on the menu? So we decided yes.
Because people always say, what's a Cortado?
Yeah. People always say, what's a Cortado? And the typical answer is what, Internet? Equal parts espresso and steamed milk. Okay, 4 ounces, right?
Gibraltar.
Piccolo. Here's the thing. We don't like the way that tastes. We think it's a bad ratio. And so we bought cups that are 6 ounces. They're not 4 ounces. They're not 5 ounces. They are 6 ounces. Mm-hmm. But they're in a glass. And so if you've ever wondered, why is the cortado at Valor so good? It's because it's a cappuccino, okay? That's why, guys, don't tell anyone. Don't tell a soul. But that is a confession that we haven't really told anyone that.
The reason it says 5 ounces on this menu is because our new cortado mugs that are in production right now are truly 5 ounces.
Yeah.
And so it will be 5 ounces, and it tastes good. It tastes about the same.
Yeah.
It's just that 1 ounce less of milk. It's
kind of abrasive.
I don't like it. And
really, like, if you were to, whatever that, maybe it's Libby, the Libby Gibraltar, cup that a cortado was made from, that's not even 4 ounces. It's like 4.5 or something like that. So, and another reason we did this, before you villainize us, we pull our shots pretty big.
True.
Like, we used to pull them to 50 grams out. It's like 45 to 50. So
it was a cortado.
If you put 45 to 50 grams of yield, espresso in a Libby Gibraltar glass, it's probably not even a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
So
you just got a macchiato, big old macchiato.
Right. So that's a little confession to make, but hey, no regrets. Cappuccino. Before we move to cappuccino, let's talk about flat white. Okay.
An omission.
And another omission. Flat white is, I think that's one of Starbucks' more popular drinks, right? A flat white.
I just think they're all popular,
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like they kind of popularized it about 5 years ago. Do you remember this?
No.
I feel like it kind of came on the map a little bit. It's an old drink, obviously, but if you go into Starbucks and you look at the menu and you see the flat white, I think it's going to say 12 ounces. I think that's how big that drink's going to be. And I would be interested to know if you said, "Hello, Starbucks barista, I would like a flat white, please, 12 ounces." And then the next day you said, "Hello, I would like a 12-ounce latte." I would wonder what the difference between those two. And then tag along with that, I'll take a 12-ounce cappuccino. The three of those drinks, how are they going to be different? That would be interesting to know. But flat white, there's kind of the traditional flat white or like the Australian flat white. That's typically around 5 ounces, a 5-ounce drink. And it's usually like a thinner microfoam, right? Like not as thick of a microfoam as like a cappuccino. And it's a tasty drink. I mean, it's kind of just like our cortado that we've been selling for these 3 years. But that's what a flat white is. We decided not to put it on the menu because Starbucks has that 12-ounce flat white, and we didn't want to constantly be like, would you like a... We didn't want to have to figure out what people mean when they say flat white. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of just like our cortado that we have on the menu.
So this says, I don't know if this is correct or not. They're calling it latte macchiato now. Okay. So maybe a latte defaults to a Starbucks macchiato.
Interesting.
And then a flat white is what we know as a latte. Because what they're trying to say here is that the difference is that the flat white has a ristretto espresso.
Okay.
Pulled 2 shots pulled short to highlight natural sweetness. Wow.
Interesting.
And then the latte macchiato has 2 shots for a roasty flavor. I guess I'm going to get the flat white. I want natural sweetness.
Maybe what they mean is like if you under extract an espresso, which is what a ristretto is. It's an under extracted espresso. You're going to get more fruity notes because in under extracted espresso, you get higher perceived acidity and more that like zing, I guess.
And acidity in their terms is equals sweetness.
When you add milk to it, probably. Yeah.
Sure.
Steamed quicker for a velvety texture. Yeah.
So macchiato has thicker milk and espresso poured on top of the milk. And flat white has normal milk poured like a latte
There you go.
with a dot. Okay. Great. Another omission is cafe au lait.
Mm-hmm.
I see that on menus every now and then.
Yeah.
Any thoughts there?
Well, in case you don't know, cafe au lait is equal parts drip coffee, 1:16 brew ratio coffee, and then fill that thing up with steamed milk the rest of the way. And the idea there, I guess, is just it's a less caffeinated latte, because you're only getting half of a cup of drip as your caffeine coffee portion. The rest is just steamed milk, so it's like a lighter thing. And again, I have no disrespect or I don't think any of these drinks are bad. I love coffee and I love milk. You put those two together, it's going to be a party. But it's just, what are we going to put on the menu? So cafe au lait, I think a lot of people there's not a ton of misconception on what that is. There's not a Starbucks version and then a hipster traditional third wave version.
Yeah.
So, we could put that on the menu and people would order it and they would probably know what it is.
People would order more of it because it's on the menu. Too.
Right. I'm just not that big of a believer in the drink.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
it doesn't improve our menu in any way.
Right. I want to put things on the menu that I am proud of, that I think people will absolutely love. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we just didn't put it on there.
Yeah. And the thing with cafe au lait, if you order it, we'll make it for you.
Oh yeah.
And it'll be as good as it gets in the cafe au lait world.
Yeah.
If someone orders a flat white, we probably press in more the same way we would if someone orders a macchiato to make sure we're giving you what you want.
Right.
And it's funny, we get scoffed at for that by people
for what?
Sometimes. So someone, say a coffee guy comes in.
Yeah.
We don't know he's a coffee guy because we've never met the guy before.
He's not wearing selvage.
He's not wearing selvage. He's not wearing a teeny beanie.
Yeah.
Maybe he, I don't know. What do you think he's wearing?
I think he's more of an Urban Outfitters type.
Yep.
A graphic tee, Dickies.
Sure.
That vibe. So it's
Great.
You could be a barista, you could not.
Yep. Perfect. He comes in, he orders a flat white.
Yep.
We say, hey, just want to make sure you thinking a bigger drink or a little drink. He's like, I'm thinking a little drink. Are you kidding me? Do you guys even know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Have you felt that vibe from someone before? Because I certainly have.
I don't think I remember ever feeling that strong of a not remorse. I don't know, that strong of a negative feeling. But I think maybe there is, gosh, ordering politics. Here we go. There is sort of a if I try to make that clarification, there sort of is a cutting short and oh yeah, I just meant that. I'm one of you. I'm one of you guys. It's so funny. We're getting into the nuance of all this.
Navigating nuance.
Wow.
With Ross Walters.
Yeah. I'm writing a book called Navigating Nuance. Not really.
Ross and I also used to talk about writing this book series where, which one of us was the idiot?
Me. I was.
You were the idiot.
The dunce.
Asking me questions, and it was just me responding.
Yeah.
It's
Riley, what is a flat white? And then you're
well, funny you should ask.
Right.
Yeah.
So
good stuff. So final thing we'll touch. Okay, cappuccino. Do you want to press in there? It's kind of the same thing as the flat white.
Right.
But it's on our menu because we believe in this drink, and it's probably our favorite drink.
Yeah.
Ethan doesn't really partake much because the whole vegan thing. But if I walk into a cafe, there's a good chance I'm going to order a cappuccino. Mm-hmm. So we think it's one of the best ways to serve espresso, the best ratio. So we had to put it on the menu. But there is often confusion about it.
Right. And we have to remember, we kind of talked about all that. Let's zoom back out. How is this helpful to someone opening a coffee shop, trying to figure out, okay, guys, now that I know all that, what do I put on my menu? And something that I always say in the trainings in our lab when we train wholesale partners is that our knowledge of coffee is only as helpful as our ability to help someone with it. Like get a good drink, you know, like if I have all this knowledge about coffee and processing and what a macchiato is, that knowledge is only helpful if I'm helping people like literally get a drink that they want. And so all that to say, I would say if you're trying to make a traditional espresso menu, you're trying to be a third wave coffee shop, you're trying to put a lot of attention to detail into your systems, and you're trying to pour latte art, you're trying to serve ethically sourced coffee that's not roasted super dark, that a few third wave descriptors that I just laid out there. If you're trying to do that, don't underestimate your customers by thinking that you have to put a 12, 16, and 24 ounce cappuccino on your menu. I would just say put a 6 ounce cappuccino on your menu and train your employees to deal with customers with empathy and understanding.
Yeah. And again, this is by no means gospel. Do what you want to.
Yeah.
But this is our interpretation.
Show.
Yeah.
This is our podcast. So, I would say don't underestimate your customers to think that, and also don't underestimate your team that they can't explain nicely and clearly without confusion what all these drinks are. Because, at the end of the day, this drink's in a different language. It's in Italian, and these aren't English words. So that's I would just say, I don't, this isn't like a super awesome thing to say all the time, but I would just say do what we did.
Yeah.
We're a coffee shop in the suburbs,
mm-hmm.
and we're also trying to be a great specialty coffee third wave cafe, and there's a way to do that and be as good as all of the snobby coffee shops, but also meet people where they're at, and have great flavored lattes.
So how about this? Someone comes in, they say, I want a 16 ounce extra hot cappuccino. What are you going to do?
Yeah. If it's their first time, I'm going to say, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to put in a 16 ounce latte, and then I'm going to put in the notes foamy, and then foamy extra hot.
Mm-hmm.
And the person at Expo who's making the drink is going to make a 16 ounce latte with 3 shots, extra hot, probably about 170 degrees, and they're going to put more foam on that thing.
We used to call it a cappuccino. Do we still do that?
No, because we don't say, like, here's your cappuccino.
You just say the name.
We just say, hey, what's up, man? Here you go.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Yeah. So that's what I would do. And especially because I wouldn't clarify because they said 16 ounces, right? If they just said, I want an extra hot cappuccino, then I would say, are you looking for like a traditional cappuccino that's kind of like 6 ounces, a little bit less milk? Or do you want something bigger, like a latte sized? And that's nuanced, but I do like to educate when it's helpful. So say like, do you want more like kind of a latte size, like 12 or 16 ounces? It kind of helps them be like, oh, a bigger drink is like a latte sized. A smaller drink is like a cappuccino. Without being like, excuse me, did you know that you're wrong and I know more than you about this topic? Yeah. So that's what I would do.
Perfect. Latte, we have a 12 or 16 ounce, 12 ounce, 2 shots, 16 ounce, 3 shots.
Yep.
We used to not. It used to just be 2 shots across the board. We changed that pretty recently.
We did.
And better than ever.
Yep.
But more expensive.
Here's another topic that people wrestle with. Should I have 12 different Monin Tirani syrup options? Or should I just have like 3 or 4? That's a really common question. That's ultimately up to you to decide. Obviously all of this is up to you to decide. We're just saying what we do. what our approach has been is we're a coffee shop in the suburbs, like we've said. We know that flavored lattes are going to be the economic backbone of our cafe. And so we have 4 flavors at a given time. We have lavender, vanilla, caramel, cardamom, mocha, and then a rotating seasonal. And the thought process there is let's have those traditional flavors like vanilla, caramel, and chocolate, but let's do it really, really well. Let's make it in-house with all organic, natural ingredients. And then let's put a little bit of a spin on that classic flavor, but not too much of a spin. For example, our lavender vanilla. Gosh, how many gallons of lavender vanilla has the city of Alpharetta consumed? It's wild. If that syrup was super lavendery, then it wouldn't have gone over as well. Mm-hmm. It's vanilla seasoned with lavender. It's not like lavender seasoned with vanilla. Same thing with caramel and cardamom. We sell a lot of that syrup. It's not cardamom seasoned with caramel. It's caramel seasoned with cardamom. And then the mocha is just a fire mocha. Mm-hmm. It's like really great.
And then the seasonal, we just do whatever we want.
Yeah.
It's always great.
The seasonal is a curveball. That is another overall philosophy to our menu, both our coffee menu and our drink menu, is we have standbys and staples that people can count on will be there every single time, no matter what. And we have variety. You can have both. So the seasonal is the variety, and the lavender, vanilla, caramel, cardamom, and mocha are the standby staples that everybody can get every single day that we're open.
And our seasonals have taken some amount of rhythm, for sure. Like, we will sometimes tweak the internals, but every fall.
The annual rhythm.
Fall spice.
Yeah.
Winter, we've been doing spice maple fig. We do a peppermint mocha sometimes, too.
Yep.
Lemon rosemary we've had before. What was the last one before right now? Spring?
Pear.
Oh, that was the first time.
Elderflower pear.
Yeah. So that's an example where we can kind of get twisted.
Right. And so whenever somebody's been ordering an iced oat milk lavender vanilla every day for a year, we can be like, yo, I know you love your drink and totally get it today, but we have this new syrup. It's elderflower pear. It's really good. Do you want to try it? And if they don't like it, then I'll just be like, I'll just make you what you usually get, you know? So, but it's like a no pressure thing. And there's that relationship there. So, that's been our approach. You know, it's not ultimately helpful to have every option under the sun, to have a whole entire wall of blueberry, raspberry, vanilla, sugar-free vanilla, caramel, sugar-free caramel, like, you know, all of these different flavors. It's not ultimately helpful to have that. Now I understand if like there's other things on your menu that you use those for, like there's a customer that we were working with that for whatever reason they had a really hot fire lemonade program and like cold teas, that sort of thing. And so they would use like a pump of their blueberry syrup with some of these drinks that they sold a lot of. If you can cross-pollinate ingredients to different parts of your menu to justify being able to have them, then that is a really good approach too.
Yeah.
To have more options, but don't feel like you just have to have like 16 different flavored lattes. I wouldn't underestimate your customers. We've really benefited from even if somebody orders something, like for example, hazelnut. Hazelnut's something we don't have and probably never will have. We never have had it. Somebody comes up and orders a hazelnut latte. It's important to never, ever say no. A lot of times that will happen. You walk up somewhere and order something, and like for example, ask me if you can have a hazelnut latte.
Hey, can I have a hazelnut latte?
We don't have that.
Oh, what?
Right. And so I'm sure if you're listening, you've experienced something like that before. It's important to never just say no and leave it at that, even though that's technically true that you don't have it. What I always say if somebody orders that, say, we don't have hazelnut, but caramel cardamom actually tastes pretty similar to hazelnut. You should try it. And they're like, okay, Or they're like, no. Or they're like, oh, I'll just get the lavender vanilla because, they see that and they like it. But we're able to, even if we don't have something, we're able to point them towards something we do have. And it's another upside benefit because it's made in-house, it's organic, it's creative. It's kind of just alluring that we have something a little bit different. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, last thing I'll say there is if you've never tried to make your own syrups, it's really not that hard.
Yeah.
If you have the space or the time for it, your margin on your syrup is going to be really, really amazing.
Yep.
And you can do it pretty easily just with an induction burner and a pot.
Right.
And then you just have to make simple syrup, which is sugar and water, and then add vanilla. Or our caramel is a little more involved, but even our mocha is pretty easy. And then our seasonals, we always put a little bit more flair into. But
at the end of the day, they're all just seasoned simple syrups.
Yep. And you'll make a lot more money, and it'll taste a lot better, and we'll have not as many gross things in it.
Right.
Or if you're like us, no gross things in it because they're all organic.
That's the other thing is, should I have sugar-free syrups? To that, I would say, I don't know, should you? But for us, we don't have sugar-free syrups. And that's one of those, there are going to be some things that you just don't have. And you don't really have another great option for them. If somebody says, can I have a sugar-free vanilla latte? I would say, oh, we actually don't have sugar-free syrups. We have stevia that we could sweeten the drink with. And also our syrups, they do have sugar, but they're all natural. They're organic. They're made in-house. We put a lot of work into them. Because sometimes people order sugar-free. I don't know if this is necessarily true, but I could see this being true. They're ordering that to avoid certain high fructose corn syrup or, dyes or things like that, although sugar-free syrups are equally as unnatural. And so if somebody says, I'll have a sugar-free vanilla latte, and then they find out that there's not going to be any high fructose corn syrup in their drink with a lavender vanilla latte, I've had that happen before too.
Well, it's are you going to... So let's take a fruit roll-up, for example.
Of course.
If you had a normal fruit roll-up and then a sugar-free fruit roll-up and then a Whole Foods brand fruit roll-up with sugar.
Yeah.
I would take the Whole Foods one.
Well said.
And that rings true for a lot of people, and it's working out for us so far. Last thing on this side, and we will keep it moving. Latte and iced latte, separate items.
Yeah.
I think we've done it like this for a while, and honestly, the reason being, because you see we have this prompt below that says most drinks are available iced or decaf. So that might seem redundant, but simply put, if we didn't have iced latte, less iced lattes would be ordered. And
correct.
Iced latte is by far and away our most popular beverage.
Yeah, almost all year.
Yeah.
Probably all year.
No, all year. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
We serve probably twice as many iced lattes as we do 12 and 16 ounce hot lattes put together.
Dang, son.
Yeah.
So might as well itemize it.
Yeah.
Different, people want their iced coffee. Mm-hmm. That's another funny one. Another funny misconception is somebody walks up and they said, I'll have an iced vanilla coffee. This happens a lot with younger demographics. They're used to going to Dunkin'. I found this. They're going to Dunkin' and they're getting an iced vanilla coffee, right? And I can't tell if I'm pretty sure it might just be 3/4 iced coffee, maybe some whole milk or half and half, and then pumps of vanilla syrup at Dunkin'. I think that might be what it is. But to that, I would say, because I legitimately want to know, do they want an iced coffee with splash of half and half or whole milk with vanilla, or do they want an iced latte? That one's 50-50. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important to clarify. A lot of people, when they order that, they truly do just want an iced latte, and they just don't know what a latte is, or they don't know the language of that. But a lot of them know what a latte is. They just want an iced coffee with a splash of half and half with syrup. So that one's another little nuanced thing to figure out. So, there's just certain things. I feel like we've kind of laid out some general philosophy. And, if you're listening and you're trying to figure out what you want on your menu, just run with whatever and you might end up in a good place.
Yeah. Moving on. Let's tackle this middle section here.
Okay.
So we love having a little section that's more for our people out there, our coffee people.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what to call it, We are a specialty coffee shop, so you can't just call this section specialty drinks, because then you're also going to have some people that ordered this who maybe wouldn't like it. And so, we wanted it to be pretty direct. The people who order these drinks oftentimes know what third wave coffee is.
Yeah.
So we just kind of poked fun at our industry and all these people who are like, oh yeah, this is the fourth wave of coffee.
Yeah.
And we called it eighth wave.
Yes.
So we've got a few nice little beverages here. Esso Spro. Esso means single origin. So we actually don't even have an Esso Spro right now. It's actually tan lines.
That's right.
But
seasonal Spro more so.
But it fits the mold for it. Then a long black. So that is espresso with a few ounces of hot water. I love a long black.
Me too.
That's why I wanted to put it on the menu. I want people to experience it. It's really good.
Well, it's interesting with this section of the menu, it may seem like a snobby thing or a non-empathetic thing to have things on your menu that 95% of the people that come in don't know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually think it is empathetic to them and to people that do know what they are, because it's automatically excluding all of the people that don't want these, that pretty much by and large, general sweeping statement, don't want these type of drinks anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just going to see iced latte and just go for that. And, no questions asked. Or if they're curious, they'll just be like, what does eighth wave mean? And we get to have like a fun conversation about it. Or what does Esso Spro mean? And because they asked, we can talk to them and like give a little kind of education moment, and they might order that one day.
Yeah.
But if they don't, then it's whatever. I mean,
yeah,
we love that they come in and get the iced lav.
Yeah, we do.
But it's kind of interesting just putting something on your menu, a section on the menu that's geared towards a certain demographic that by design excludes the people that don't even want those drinks anyways, by and large, generally.
Yep, absolutely. Then you work your way to middle child, BTC. So these are, especially middle child, no one that comes in knows what that is.
Unless you're like a Valor fiend.
And we like that, because then we get to have a fun experience.
Yep.
So the middle child is a 1 to 8,
Either 1 to 8 or 1 to 9.
Yeah, ratio of a very coarsely ground espresso, basically.
Yeah.
Definitely finer than drip, finer than like pour over type settings, but much coarser than espresso. We take that, put it in a portafilter, and rip like a 1 to 8, 1 to 9 ratio shot
at 9 bars.
At 9 bars, and then just serve it up. And it's like a concentrated brew. It's similar to the long black, but you don't have any bypass water.
Right.
And it tastes great, and it's one of my favorite things we do.
Yeah, it's something that I'm not going to say we came up with that, because I really don't think we did.
No.
But I haven't seen it anywhere else, and no one's calling it a middle child. We just kind of, Ethan probably just came up with that.
I think Matt Perger or James Hoffman won. They're basically the same, Just kidding. I think one of them did something similar in one of their WBC or regional championship situations at some point.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it came from us standing behind the bar and being like, man, we love long blacks. Like, we love having 4 ounces of hot water in a cup of water, in a cup, and 4 ounces of hot water in a cup, and then pouring espresso on top of that. We love that. We started to learn about TDS, total dissolved solids, and we said, okay, what if the TDS of a long black could have the same, like it has the same TDS as like a brewed coffee without bypass water? And that's kind of how the middle child was formed. And if you go in, moving on to the BTC, if you go into our cafe right now, because our pour over system isn't fully set up yet, if you order a BTC, you are going to get a middle child with bypass water added. Mm-hmm. We did extensive testing about for our by the cup option, should we pull a 1-to-16 ratio? It was probably never 1-to-16. It was probably more like 1-to-12 or 13. Mm-hmm. Should we pull a 1-to-13 brew ratio just through our espresso machine? Just let that thing run until it basically fills up the cup. That was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I mean, we did.
That's kind of how we formed the middle child out of that, because we were doing that before.
Yes.
Because of Cat and Cloud. Cat and Cloud put us onto that.
Absolutely.
At 3 bars, to be clear.
Yes. Yeah. We did it at 3 bars for a while, and then we just did it at 9. Mm-hmm. So should we do it that way to where there's no bypass water added, or should we have, a middle child and then add bypass water? And we were able to pull out more sweetness and complexity from a middle child with bypass water added. Mm-hmm. And when somebody walks up and orders a pour over, we're able to give them a coffee by the cup that took 50 seconds instead of 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes after you add all the grinding and all that stuff. So that's kind of another way we've did something a little different. We have recently, the more we've tested middle children and by the cup coffees, we've just found them to be lacking in complexity.
Maybe a little less with the middle child specifically, because you get the more espresso type of complexity.
Sure. Right. But again, putting ourselves in the shoes of a customer that walks in and wants a nice paper filter V60 pour over of a washed Ethiopian, and we serve them a by the cup, which is a middle child with bypass water added, they are going to get a well extracted coffee with no negative flavors, but they're not going to get a ton of complexity out of, like, you're pulling in some jasmine, you're pulling in some, some elderflower, you're pulling in some lime, tamarind, stone fruit, these sort of things we pull out of washed Ethiopians. So we're just like, okay, well, is there a way for us to have a V60 on the menu, a paper filter? And
well, it really started with one of those more expensive coffees, and we did Clever.
Yes.
Like our first anaerobic coffee that we did, we were like, someone who's going to want to come in and pay $8 for this cup of coffee is going to want those things.
Deserves a paper filter.
Let's figure out a way to do it efficiently. We did Clever. We like Clever. It's still, if we're paying a lot for a cup of coffee, we probably want it to be the best interpretation as possible.
Right. And back to the sort of the 2 core values as it relates to having a menu. 1, what is the customer perception of it? 2, can your team execute on it efficiently and consistently? And without the Tone Touch brewer, which is an automated pour over system, we haven't been able to execute consistently and efficiently on just like using a Stag kettle on a V60 pour over behind the bar. So we're excited to roll that out. If I can just work out the kinks with the flow rate, we're going to be golden. But anyways,
the bummer is that you kind of need 2. We're going to start with 1, but we're going to have to get 2 eventually.
Yeah.
And it's a little pricey, but
I hope having the Tone Touch with the V60 with the paper filter brewed at a 1-to-16 ratio is going to increase our by the cup sales. Mm-hmm. Because that'll raise awareness for the different things we have on the menu.
People will also just see the machine and ask what it is.
Right.
Because it's kind of a polarizing look.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. 1 and 1. This is, we attribute this one again to Cat and Cloud. And
second rip.
It's on many of the espresso menus across the country at this point. It's really fun, and essentially what you do, this is one of the reasons we don't use bottomless portafilters.
Yep.
So you put 2 shot glasses under your portafilter, one under one spout, the other under the other one. Split shot. Take that, serve one side as just the espresso, take the other side, steam up some milk and pour it in there to where it makes it pretty much like a I mean, a cappuccino, honestly.
Yeah, depending on how big your cup is, it
yeah.
might just end up being like a 1-to-1 ratio or 1-to-2 ratio.
Yeah, but we don't like 1-to-1 ratios. So
Of course,
so you get to taste, as the guest, the espresso alone and the espresso with milk.
Right.
And it's just fun. It's fun stuff.
Which is a great experience to enjoy a coffee.
Yeah.
To specifically, you know, like with free throw, which is, and this will kind of get us into the next. I don't think we have to go through the whole menu, but it will kind of get us into the next segment as far as what coffees do you want on your menu. But free throw, we've that's been our like flagship offering. Hasn't always been a blend, but for the most part, it's been a blend. It's been our flagship offering, as in like if you were to figure out, or if you were to ask the question, you know, what does Valor taste like? We would like point you to free throw. It's chocolatey, not to the point where it's roasty, and it is fruity, but not to the point where it's too acidic. We want it to stand up to cream and sugar well, as in like there's not too much perceived acidity to where it's sour with milk. But we also want it to be complex enough to be enjoyed as a straight espresso. Or in this scenario, if you're going to order a 1-in-1 with free throw, you're going to be able to taste that by itself. So you're going to probably get, you know, just that, like that complexity of chocolate, fruit, and then with milk. It's just, I love what milk does to espresso. I mean, that's why we're in business. It's like what milk does to espresso. So it's just a great way to experience a coffee.
Absolutely. All right, draft. This is something we introduced about a year ago. We did not have draft products before that. And it has kind of transformed our company, honestly, and a lot that we do. But basically what you need to know is, you know, we used to do the ice coffee, flash brewed. We would, you know, in our drip brewer, brew at, you know, a 1-to-8 ratio over ice, and it would the ice would dilute the hot brew into a 1-to-16 at a cooler temperature. And we would do it that way.
We would do it with ice and water.
Yes, we would. And now we do cold brew, and we make it at our headquarters. And since we're doing cold brew, we're like, why not do nitro cold brew? Why not do a batch, you know, latte that's nitro infused? And I would say the number one reason we did this was efficiency.
Yep.
Our most popular drink was an iced lavender vanilla latte.
Usually with oat milk. So now, you know, obviously instead of espresso, we use cold brew concentrate. And oat milk and lavender vanilla, put it in a keg, nitro infuse it, and you have a great product. It tastes better. And all you have to do to make it is put a cup under a spout and pull the trigger. Yeah, it's great for our business too, because our roastery and our cafe are two separate businesses. And essentially the cafe is a customer of our roastery. And so it enables us to have like some cash flow between the two businesses, which is great.
Yep.
But yeah, well, I love seeing that draft, like our kegerator just pumping out drinks, because that means that's one less drink that Expo has to make.
Yep. And then, yeah, again, since we can do that, we do nitro cold brew. Because it's one extra step and people love it.
Yeah.
Kombucha, we have an extra draft line, so it's nice to be able to offer that. Kombucha's good. We just buy it from our distributor. Bucci Sovereign is what we have right now. We've had it for a while, and it tastes great. So substitutes. This is interesting because there's a million alternative milks out there. And I think more than anything, we've kind of we have I'm not even going to say most popular. We don't have soy. I don't like soy. None of us do. That's why.
There's usually a lot of non-natural things in soy. Although there is natural soys out there for all you soy heads.
Yeah, soy heads, we see you. And so our favorite is oat. So it's the one that leads the charge right there. Honestly, we have Oatly and Califia Farms.
Yes.
And some people prefer the one over the other, and we use them all when we buy them. So
Yeah.
we just do. And then almond, everyone expects a coffee shop to have almond milk. So we have a sweet and an unsweet. We do way more of the sweet than the unsweet because the unsweet steam's kind of weird. The sweet steam's great. And then breve, we have half and half, so might as well be able to steam it up. We actually have some heavy cream as well
We do.
that some people use.
For all the keto heads.
Yeah. It's not on the menu because I feel weird pushing that.
Yeah.
But, and then alt milk's upcharge varies with size. Alt milk's upcharge price varies with size. We used to just do a standard, $1, but that felt kind of funny to do on a cortado. So now it kind of just changes the larger the drink gets.
Yeah. Might be like 50 cents for a cortado and then like $1 for a latte.
Yeah. And then add single shot, $1, double is $2. Is what it is.
People be wanting extra shots.
Yeah, that's true. All right. And then others, really, this just comes down to what you want to do with your cafe. If you want to have 15 different root beers, do it.
Yeah. Could be really great for you.
If people are buying that, then great. Obviously, top of the list, matcha. People have come to expect matcha in cafes.
True.
At this point. We serve so many matchas from our great friends, Mizuba.
I know you're watching.
If you're looking to start your matcha program, then you should use Mizuba.
Yeah.
And so that's at the top. We do a 12 and 16 ounce. Hojicha.
It's unsweetened.
Unsweetened.
A lot of people out there are doing sweetened matchas.
There's a lot of matcha powder. We just recommend get the real stuff.
It's not that hard.
No.
It's not hard to whisk up. It takes less time than pulling an espresso.
For sure.
And serves the same function in a latte that espresso does.
I have definitely thought a good bit about just having kegs of matcha, kegs of oat matcha ready to rip at all times, because that could help with efficiency.
Yep.
We'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Matcha likes to separate.
That's true. Hojicha is, I'm wrong in some way here, I'm sure. It's basically just roasted matcha. It just has a little bit more of a savory type of flavor caramelized, smoky. It's good, and we like to serve it, so it's on the menu. Chai latte, again, people have come to expect this from cafes. People love chai, so we have a chai concentrate from Donna.
Yep.
No, it's not anymore. It's from Spirit.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
We just partner with Spirit on all of our teas except for matcha.
It's fire.
And it's good.
Bottled water, 17 ounces.
Hey, it is. It's true.
That's funny.
I don't have too much to say on some of this stuff. It's just like, do what you want. Hot chocolate, I would say you definitely need, because kids. Just think about the kids.
Yeah. The next gen.
And that's why we have an 8 ounce. We sell a lot of those. Kid temp hot chocolate.
That's right.
That comes on the K. I'm talking the kitchen display very often.
Yeah.
Bottled water, chocolate milk as a riff off of hot chocolate. Sell those too. Montaigne is a local to Georgia sparkling water company. A LaCroix-esque.
Thank you.
Company. We have two different ones, a still, just normal, and then a cucumber lime, and they're both really good. Point being,
Have some non-coffee and non-caffeinated beverages.
Absolutely. And then Fentim and soda. We have a root beer and a pink lemonade.
All natural soda. It's good.
It's good. Expensive, but good. Yeah. And then lastly, you probably should have a loose leaf tea menu. We partner with Spirit. Transparently, just because they have good tea. We don't really have like much of a relationship with them or anything. But we used to only have black, white, green, and herbal.
Yep.
And then I think Spirit caught on that they should sell Earl Grey and peppermint, and then finally started doing so. Mm-hmm. And so we picked up those as well.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say there. Kind of other than, you probably want a green, you want a black, and then if you want to go, and then you want an herbal for non-caffeinated teas.
That's right.
Which I know herbal technically isn't tea. Okay, I get it.
People are flipping over their tables right now on the internet.
And then I love white tea. I think it's really good. So white tea, just do it.
Because you're a white tea.
Yeah, that's true. You've got a white tea on.
That's true.
And Earl Grey and peppermint are popular. So
another sort of takeaway from our menu is, so we've talked about 2 things. Make sure your customer understands it. 2, make sure your team can execute on it. Third thing I would say when it comes to overall philosophy is use empathy with items on your menu to where, it's a. Let me start that over. Parts of your menu.
Are you choking up?
I'm just really passionate about this. Parts of your menu are going to be shaped around the customer's perception of the coffee industry. But parts of your menu can also just be fun and on your terms. Because if we only do business on the terms that our customers expect, then we will be boring and like everyone else. But if we do terms on, if we do business on the terms of our customer, but then we also just have things that we want to do because we want to do them, that makes us who we are. So if you were able to understand that jumbling, I think I tried to.
I think the people out there who did really appreciated it.
Wow.
Including me.
Wow. Hey, smash like, Big T.
Oh, I will. So seasonal. We'll just hit this real quick. We have a seasonal menu that is bonkers. I don't know where it is, dude. I don't know where it is. But we always do a seasonal menu. How did that come about?
I think I think we just started to make some drinks behind the bar, and they're like, "Hey, let's put a menu to this." And then
we used to have the hidden menu. Remember that?
We had a hidden menu
at the cart.
We did. I think a big part of the having a seasonal menu is having the personnel to execute on it. Back to that other core value of a menu. Whenever we brought on Mikey as the operations coordinator, she took on a lot of the responsibility of executing the seasonal menu, creating the drinks, conceptualizing them on the front end, but also executing the ingredients and then training people. So if you have the personnel to execute on a seasonal menu, then it's a really great thing to point people to whenever they're trying to try something new. Because a lot of people just want to come into your cafe because they love your cafe and they just want to experience the creativity of it. So,
excuse how this looks. I just don't have, a file on my computer of it for some reason. But this is our summer menu, and it is, just a few drinks that our team put together that are very tasty. All iced this time. It'll change per season. And the reason being just, have an outlet for creativity, and this is ours.
It's great.
It's Projito. It's just like a cold brew concentrate, citrusy, sparkly drink. The blue sky is, one of those blue drinks that you see on Instagram.
Yep.
Fruit salad, yummy, yummy. Strawberry compote and a matcha. Arnie Palmy Alert is a really good Arnold Palmer.
That's the other guy's reference.
Oh, yeah. I actually looked it up, and they just say Arnold Palmer Alert.
Really?
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Isn't it? And then Aren't You Glad You Got This Coffee is just an iced middle child of our orange-washed Columbia.
Our world famous.
World famous. And then our seasonal syrup is lemon rosemary, and it's really good. Yeah, that's how we put together a little coffee menu, huh? I think we can we're talking to coffee shops, so we don't have to talk about our menu philosophy for coffees themselves as a roaster.
Yeah.
But maybe, if you had to give someone some advice for putting together a retail selection or a pour-over selection, what would that be? Yeah.
Well, I would consider, again, back to the main philosophies of the menu, I would consider what are my customers going to expect, and I'm going to consider what can my employees and team execute on consistently and efficiently. And let's say, like, again, we'll just say for us in Alpharetta, it's a little bit different for us because we're a roaster. And so we have pretty much all of our coffees, our entire menu that we roast at our cafe for sale. But let's just pretend that we don't roast our own coffee and we're partnering with Valor as our roaster.
Great.
In Alpharetta. Alpharetta is kind of split. We have some people that know about specialty coffee and want to know about natural processed, orange washed, varietal, geisha, all this stuff. And a lot of people just want a cup of coffee, like we've already said. Mm-hmm. So in that scenario, if I was just opening, I would start simple. I would put free throw or workers' comp on espresso. We already said what free throw is. Workers' comp is our dark-ish roast, which it's pictured on the screen. It's in the yellow box, and it's our interpretation of a dark roast without it being dark roasted. And the idea is it's simple by design. It's lacking complexity by design. It is a sweet, chocolatey, wonderful hug in a mug.
Beautiful.
And it's going to be great it's going to be great on espresso if you're trying to go for more of a traditional approach. Although you could still pull it in a more modern way. Like I've pulled it like 18 to 45, which is more of a modern approach to a brew ratio, and it's wonderful. So I would put one of those on espresso, and I would make a covenant with myself that I would not change the espresso for an entire year. You could change it a little bit in the beginning if you're trying to like figure out what coffee you want, but
just to be clear, if you want a multi-espresso menu, you're just saying that would be your main espresso that you use in lattes, milk beverages, etc.
That's right. Back to the whole third philosophy in a menu of having consistency and standbys, staples that people can come to expect. Their latte is going to taste the same every day. Their espresso for here is going to taste the same every day, but then also having variety. So we have the standby free throw on espresso every day, but we also have a seasonal espresso that changes for the people that want variety.
And we don't sell that many.
No.
But for the people who want it, it's much appreciated.
Yeah. And we pull it on our EK.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would start there with your espresso, get a good blend or a good year-round coffee. In our case, it would be free throw or workers' comp, or Miracle is another great option. Put that on espresso. Try not to change it. And then as for drip, I would we change our drip a little bit more. We kind of change it quarterly with the seasons, which is So, but we always are trying to hit that like chocolatey, sweet, not crazy acidity, but enough acidity for it to be interesting kind of slot. And we pretty much always have our green box in that menu slot, which is usually a Central or South American coffee. Right now it's Costa Rica La Pastora. So that coffee totally fits that mold. It's great with cream and sugar, but it's also great by itself. And I don't really think we get a lot of backlash for changing our drip.
No,
because we don't do it that often. We do it quarterly. People are kind of excited when we change it.
For sure.
Espresso's not that way for some reason. And then, so if you're changing your espresso all the time, be prepared to train your team to be able to dial in different coffees on espresso on a regular basis and be prepared to waste coffee.
For sure, yeah. I mean, respect to you multi-roasters out there who are pushing a different spro every week because, I get it and that's cool, but it seems really hard.
Yeah, and it's all depending on what your demographic is going to enjoy and appreciate.
Absolutely. So I totally agree with everything you just said, Ross.
Good.
How about if someone is thinking about a few boxes that they want to sell?
Yeah, and pour over too.
I mean, first of all, sell the coffees that you are serving.
Yes.
That's
as a retail offering.
Philosophy number one.
Yep.
If you have free throw on espresso, you should be selling some retail boxes of free throw.
Yes.
Whatever coffee is on drip, sell it that way. And then, realistically, I would say I would really recommend. We always have a natural offering.
Yes.
And
as a
whoever,
roaster.
and whoever you're working with probably does as well.
Yeah.
So I would probably always have a natural coffee as a by the cup format if you do that.
Yep.
And then also sell it as a retail box because that's going to introduce a lot of people to specialty like they have never seen it.
Yeah. If I was going to open a coffee shop, just hypothetically.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was going to use Valor as the roaster, and I was going to open it in a suburb in Kentucky, similar to Alpharetta. I would put workers' comp on espresso. I would put free throw on drip because it's so good on drip. And then I would have a decaf espresso as well, which is book club for us. And then I would have our red box, which is Honduras Finca La Unica, super fruity coffee for pour over. And then I would also have Ethiopia Gara washed as another pour over option. So I'm kind of hitting all of the flavor profiles more or less, but without having an exhaustive menu. And I would sell retail of all of those coffees.
Yeah. Yeah, I would pretty much agree with you there. I would say maybe, depending on where you are, and we see this happen a lot, some people would buy just like a box of the premium coffee to kind of either sell it or to serve it as like a nice little offering. Especially once you build, you have like your people who come in and that they are like really into getting pour overs, and they come in, you're like, you got to try this one.
Right.
Just got it in.
They've
so special.
Yeah, they've came in 3 days in a row. Day 1, they got the red box. Day 2, they got the pink box. Mm-hmm. Third day. It's like, hey, you like those two pour overs? Why don't you try this kind of premium thing?
Yeah,
that's a good move.
Great. That was fun.
I like talking about this stuff.
Me too.
And listeners, thanks for joining along.
It's so fun to build and lay out a menu. Like, we did this for so long, like we changing the placement of stuff and all that.
Yep.
And it's kind of the same way with like, laying out a cafe. It's just, it's high stakes.
It is.
But you can always change it too. And there's no one right way to do it. But there are some good practices you can have. I just love coffee.
Me too. I'm going to cry.
I'm going to change the name of this podcast to Coffee All the Time.
Coffee All Times.
Or Coffee and Raw Denim.
Coffee and Raw Denim. I think we would get a lot more listeners if we changed it to that. So just if you could do that, that'd be great.
Hey, if you like this show, share it with your friends. Like, follow, subscribe. And that'll about do it for this week, huh?
Next week. Oh, guys. PSA. Riley and I are both about to have kids.
Kid.
Yeah.
A
A
kid apiece.
You
have another one.
Separately.
Yeah.
Your wife is pregnant.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And my wife is pregnant.
Correct.
With our second child.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to be going on a little paternity leave.
That's right.
Whenever that time comes. So we're going to have to get Ethan solo on the show.
Absolutely.
Which he might be just recorded as a voice memo, knowing him. But if you don't hear from us for a while, that is why, and we'll be back. I don't know if we'll be back next week. Rachel's having some serious contractions, but we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I don't think Michaela's going to have a baby next week.
So you and Ethan,
me and Ethan will probably record
at least. Yeah.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Love you. Bye.